Hey, welcome. In a world that is just constantly pulling for our attention, trying to find inner peace can feel, well, pretty much impossible. But what if I told you there's a timeless framework, kind of like a map, that's literally designed to guide us toward a more balanced state of mind? Okay, let's dive right in. So, we're going to start with this really powerful and, let's be honest, kind of counterintuitive idea. I mean, we're always taught that happiness comes from getting the new job, right? Or the perfect relationship, or whatever that next big thing is. But this ancient wisdom, it just flips that whole script on its head. It says the source of real lasting peace, it's not out there somewhere. It's already inside us.
And that's the real question, isn't it? I mean, when your phone is buzzing, you've got deadlines breathing down your neck, and the outside world is just loud. How are you supposed to even begin to look within? It sounds nice, sure, but what does that actually mean, in practice? Well, that is exactly what this whole framework is designed to unpack for us.
See, to find the path, first we have to figure out where we're starting from. And that's where the Buddha's first major teaching comes in, the Four Noble Truths. Think of it like a doctor's diagnosis for the human condition. It's this super clear, logical way of understanding why we feel stressed and anxious and just dissatisfied. All right, so let's get into the first part of this diagnosis. It all kicks off with the first noble truth. And it's a really simple but honestly profound observation about what life is actually like.
Okay, now I know what you might be thinking. This sounds super pessimistic, right? But it's not. It's just realistic. See, the word we translate as suffering can also mean things like dissatisfaction or stress, or just that general feeling of unease. It's the friction of daily life. And acknowledging it isn't about being negative, not at all. It's about being honest, so we can finally do something about it.
So if we can all agree that, yeah, this unease is just a part of life, the next logical question is, well, why? What's actually causing it? Let's jump to the second noble truth and find out. And this right here, this idea is incredibly empowering. Why? Because it means our discontent isn't just random bad luck. No, it has identifiable causes. Things like our constant craving for stuff to be different, or our attachment to outcomes we can't control, like obsessing over getting that promotion. And if it has a cause, that means we can look into it, understand it, and, this is the best part, we can actually address it at the root.
And right here is where everything shifts. We move from the diagnosis to the treatment. If we know what the problem is and we know what's causing it, then we can finally start talking about the cure. This is where it gets really hopeful, the prescriptive part of this whole journey.
Which brings us to the third noble truth. If we stick with our doctor analogy, this is the prognosis. And let me tell you, it is incredibly good news. So here's the crucial point. That feeling of lasting peace, of real contentment, it's not some fantasy. It is an achievable, tangible state of being. The end of that constant nagging dissatisfaction, it's actually possible. And look, this isn't about escaping life. It's about learning to experience it fully, just without all that unnecessary friction.
So that brings us to the final and maybe the most practical part of this whole framework. If peace is actually possible, then what's the plan? How do we do it? How do we get there? While this is the prescription, it says there is a structured, actionable plan, it's called the Eightfold Path, that you can follow to literally transform your inner world. It's not just some vague hope. It is a methodical guide for training your mind and living with more wisdom and compassion. And this slide just illustrates the whole idea perfectly. On one side, you've got our typical approach, right? Always looking for those temporary fixes in the outside world. And on the other side, you've got the path we're talking about today, a journey inward to understand the real cause and find a peace that doesn't just vanish when things get tough. So what exactly is this clear path from the Fourth Noble Truth? Well, it's called the Eightfold Path. And you can think of it as the practical, honest-to-goodness how-to guide for making this inner journey a real part of your everyday life. Now, the Eightfold Path isn't just a rigid set of rules you have to follow. It's much more like a comprehensive framework for living. As you can see, it all starts with understanding. That means developing a wiser view of the world and a clear intention for where you're headed. Then, that new perspective starts to guide your actions, everything from how you talk to how you act and even how you make a living. All of this, in turn, begins to shape your entire way of living through consistent effort and mindfulness. And where does it all lead? It culminates in peace, through deep concentration and real mental clarity. And you know what? That brings us right back to where we started.
All of these ideas, from diagnosing our own discontent to following the practical steps of the path, they all point back to this one single essential truth. The real work, the most transformative work you can possibly do, it happens on the inside.
So, there you have it. The whole framework is laid out. You got the diagnosis, the cause, the prognosis, and the prescription. The map has been presented. Really, the only question left to ask is, where will your inner path begin?